Today is a big day for grassroots racing. It's the 11th annual GRIDLIFE Midwest Festival at Gingerman Raceway in South Haven, Michigan. 350 drivers and tens of thousands of fans from around the country descend every June for music, motorsports, and the massive spectacle and sensory experience that is GRIDLIFE. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer, and joined by Greg Creamer for today. This is the big day, Greg, Saturday at GRIDLIFE Midwest.
And this is the Big Daddy, right? Yeah, this is where it all really began. And as a result, you can see how packed this place is. One of the biggest crowds, probably the biggest crowd we've ever had, the Paddock Jam. And when you have an event of this scope, everybody who's competing puts on just a little bit deeper, digs a little bit deeper. We saw that in our first GLTC race yesterday. The margin at the line was 42/100ths of a second between first and second. And right after the race, our Cerise Taylor caught up with our top two finishers.
All right, everybody, and I am here once again with Erica Teal. Eric, it is always a pleasure talking to you. That was a great race. Unfortunately, we did see some yellow flags for a good portion of it. Now, talk to us about the battles that you got into. There's a couple hairy moments.
Yeah, it was some pretty good battles with Luke McGrew. I felt like I had good pace. It's just really hard to pass around this track. So when the caution came out, it was a blessing and a curse because the Corvettes could cool their tires down. And at the same time, Luke made a move and it allowed me to go on the outside of him and then pass him on the inside of 2. And then I was just trying to hunt down Matan, but he held it together. You got a little sketchy in turn 10 or turn 9.
He spooked me.
Yeah, turn 9, I thought you were going to spin it or go off, and then I tried to make a move on you in turn 10, and it was like, there was no way I was going to catch up to you on the straight. But good race, man. That was fun.
Let's go see it. Now, do you share the same perspective? Is that what happened?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I mean, off the race start, I was like hoping I'd get Luke and hoping that Eric and Luke would battle. I mean, obviously all great drivers, right? And so that kind of was working out. I was like, this is going great. Yellow comes out, and I'm like, oh, man. And you never really want to finish a race under yellow. But with a restart, it's always a risk of can I get a good start? And I saw Luke come to the inside of me on the restart, and I saw Eric follow. And I was like, well, I hope they battle for a little bit, give me a little bit of a run again. Saw Eric come around. I think I cooled my tires down too much probably in the pace laps. didn't get them back up to temp, and like the car wasn't like quite how good it was when I was running away, but I was like, I just need to hold it together for one lap and I'll be all right. So like Joey came over the radio and was like, Radham's holding the white flag. I was like, I think I can hold it together. So car ran great. We did a bunch of setup changes and it's been amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you were a little bit bummed as soon as that yellow flag came out, because you had like, how many, 1 point something second lead?
Yeah, I'm not even sure, but they were way back there. I was just driving my race, just staying focused. It was really nice, kind of stress-free. I was relaxing.
Now, Eric is really comfortable in this car. We see him out here. He's a ripper, and as are you. How are you feeling in this car this season?
So this season, I feel like we've been struggling. We tried to make some setup changes over the winter to try to drop some weight. I just didn't love running the car so high a weight. And I finally caved, and I went back up to a square tire setup, bigger tires, and put the springs back through last year. And I feel like we're right back to where we were at the end of the last year at Laguna. And the car feels absolutely amazing, and it's great. So I'm really excited.
Now, I have more of like an in-depth question here. You've been driving GLTC for how many years?
I think 4 or 5.
What has it done for you?
Wait, maybe only 3. Maybe only 3.
What has GLTC done for you and your life and your program specifically?
It's made my life a lot busier, a lot more stressful, but it's a lot of fun. I spend so much time in it. As far as for driving, it just accelerates the development of my driving so quickly, because even if you're racing in 20th, you have all these cars around you, and then once you get up to 15th, you now have another 5 cars to find. And then even when you're here, it's like you're splitting hairs between 10ths, you know, and you know, you look at our qualifying results. So it just like accelerates your learning so fast, because you have so many different amazing drivers around you, and you always have somebody to drive around. And I feel it's much easier to drive faster and learn where you're losing pace when you're watching somebody else directly in front of you. So it's a great community. You know, these are all my best friends. I talk to these people on the phone all the time, at the track, at home. Like, this is my life pretty much.
Good. Well, we'd love to see the progression. Adam here with a gift. Thank you. Wonderful job. We're going to be seeing how you progress throughout the season.
Yeah, hopefully this dyno goes well.
Let's go. Good luck.
Thank you.
Eric, I have one more question for you, if I may. If there was any other race in grid life that you could do besides GLTC, what would you do?
Ooh. If I had the money, time attack would be pretty cool. Watching some of these guys like Ferris Khartoumi just like completely obliterate these records all across the world, it's pretty cool, but my wallet's pretty broke. I could only afford to do this. Rally racing would be pretty cool too, but...
Rally would be dope. Honestly, I feel like you in particular would do well in rally.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
This car's been off-road.
Yeah, it's been off-road. It's been upside down. It does rally car things. You know, it's used to it. So.
She's sturdy.
Yeah, but I'd probably want an all-wheel drive car for rally.
There you go. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, good luck. You're going to go on the dyno next?
No, I'm just hanging out here.
Nice.
It's how it goes.
See you later.
Matan Rosenberg picking up the Sunoco checkered flag yesterday, and he was out of breath, excited. That was fantastic, Greg. But we're at a 2.2-mile racetrack here, Gingerman Raceway, 11 corners around this spectacular circuit, Greg. And, you know, one of my favorite things about this is our home track. So while it isn't the longest or the biggest or, you know, the wildest racetrack that we go to, it's got a lot of mechanical grip, and it provides a lot of really fun side-by-side opportunities.
Well, it's a track that's a real technical track. And so if you can figure out the little nuances here, you can really make a big difference. And you know, turn 11, obviously, that's the you know, the classic overtaking area at the end of a long run. Turn 1, you can do it there, but it opens up a lot on the exit, so you can flow more speed in than you think. I always think turn 7, if you can get somebody to make a little mistake through the very tricky turn 5 and 6, you can surprise them into 7. But as you can see, this is a lot of momentum on this track, lots of long corners, Kyle, and that really pace those outside tires. So you got to have some tire management going on.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of room for mistakes. There's not runoff, at least paved runoff. So if you drop a tire, it puts up a big plume of dust, and in a 50-plus car field, they can get pretty messy out there quickly, especially towards the tail of the field. We had a yellow flag yesterday for an incident that just involved an ABS failure. All the cars are all right, so we're good to continue. But there's a look at the festival grounds, the virtual ones at least. But, Greg, I think the real ones are actually more packed than the rendering.
Oh, they are. Absolutely stuffed right now. And it was a rocking concert going on last night. Just look at that paddock area, and then in the background, there is no space left for somebody to come in and even set up a pup tent. This place is jammed.
Certainly. So, of course, GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 2 is upcoming here in a couple of moments. Of course, GRIDLIFE Touring Cup is our single-class sprint racing series. We balance all the cars with power, weight, and tire width. You can swap engines. You can do all sorts of additions to these cars. But here's where we are in the weekend. We're about halfway through the timed sessions that we've got. We've got top 10 shootout and race 3 later today, Greg, but our 15-minute race 2 is up next.
Yeah, and all these races, while they're separate races, are very interconnected. Your fast lap from yesterday's race establishes where you start today. There were some people who struggled in qualifying who got that memo, Kyle, really laid down some nice Eric Magnussen, for one, improved his starting position dramatically in his first visit here. So some people understanding that. Then how you finish in this race will determine who goes into race 3 and that top 10 shootout. They're all interconnected. You've got to be thinking ahead a bit.
This live coverage is brought to you by Falcon, the official tire of GRIDLIFE Track Battle, and NOS Energy, the official energy drink sponsor of GRIDLIFE and the title partner of GRIDLIFE's NOS Energy Track Battle Time Attack. And you mentioned the packed paddock and the packed campgrounds, but the grid is filling up right now as we get set to go racing here momentarily, and the fans have come from all over to fill in trackside. Watch the action on the Jumbotrons live in sound and vision, as John Heidhoff would say here at Gingerman. But Greg, the storylines after yesterday, we got some racing. We obviously saw Matan and Eric battle for the win. Ayrton Grimm was another driver that moved up 43rd to 29th yesterday, so a great run for the 14-year-old driver making his first start in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup this weekend.
Yeah, both he and the 71 of Joel Morrison, 14 spots they made up during that race. I think it was immensely impressive for Ayrton at 14 years old only in his first race in a car like this, really doing a nice job. Not only that, but you think about for Ayrton, he started in the 43rd spot. He'll start 25th in this second race. So that too, a huge gain because he turned a nice lap time. Lena Chin turned 8. She'll start 10th. A lot of these people really figured it out after struggling in qualifying, put in a really fast lap during the race. That's crucial.
It is crucial, especially when this race, and this is a big one for us, this is the championship standings here for you. Top 10 in the points, Luke McGrew, James Houghton, Matan Rosenberg, they're in the top 5. Eric Catil down in 7th because he didn't make the round at Willow Springs, and of course not at COTA either. So most of those points are from Carolina Motorsports Park, where he won 3 races in a weekend. So if he'd like to repeat that here, he's got to start now.
Exactly. And I was talking with James Houghton yesterday, and I said, you may have set a record at COTA for 4 consecutive second-place finishes. He said, that's not the record I want to have. And so really, competitive here. And this is an opportunity for somebody to do something. And, Matan Rosenberg, he was talking about the setup changes he made. One of the big ones, Kyle, was in the C5 Corvette. He said they found a different diff, where they could actually put in a different gear, and they're now at a 411. And he said, it's given me, I'm in the torque power band a lot more, so I'm getting a much better launch out of the corners, and still not having to, worry. As he said, I hope this dyno goes well. Well, when you're getting that, what you have for power, and they're restricted quite a bit in the vets, but if you're in the power band coming out of the corners better, it's a huge advantage. And then he talked about he's back to the 305s on all 4 corners, and he said it's just sticking, it's working, and so that's the kind of evolution you have to have, and this is a chance for him to close this up in the points.
Yeah, and certainly we've had a bunch of Corvettes up in the front in the past. Now, of course, Jeremy Swenson is no longer running with us in the championship. He's moved on to some more local events near him, but Eric Meadows has kind of filled the place. He switched from number 2 to number 3, which was Jeremy's old number, and he had a spectacular run yesterday in that black Corvette up towards the front. So with one vacancy, it has been filled up at the front with the Chevrolet Power. So I think Eric Meadows is one to watch as well. And Jake Jornstad in that TLS 2000, a great run for him, his best ever qualifying effort. And if I am not speaking out of turn, I think it was his best ever finish at GRIDLIFE Midwest Festival.
Yeah, 6th. I mean, really stout run for him. So there are other players that are starting to show some speed. Paul Darling, even though he didn't get the result yesterday because I think it was just a mechanical issue, but he got a nice lap in as well. Started 8th yesterday. He's not going to start that well, but he's been showing speed. He knows this place very well. And the guy who continues to impress me, we just briefly talked about him, is Eric Magnuson. He's a multiple champion in other sports car series, new to GRIDLIFE of this year, but very skilled. And as he learns the track, he's one of those guys that made a big leap in qualifying by understanding that first race, if you're not going to be in a spot for a great finish, is to go out and get after it. And I talked to Jackie Ding, and he said, all right, he said, I'm on the cusp of actually earning a GLTC point. He said, I thought I was great, finished 20th. No, last point is 19th. So I got to figure it out. But he's also absolutely flying in track battle in that M2 CSR. He made the comment, he said, I might have the oldest car here with that Corolla in GLTC, and the newest car here with that track battle BMW. And I thought about it. I think we got a 68 Camaro in the paddock that probably has that. But still, it's impressive what Jackie's doing.
Yeah, Jackie's done a great job with that car. And just like he and Michael Pagano have two of, I think, probably some of the most iconic-looking cars.
Oh, yeah.
When you look back at the series 10 years from now, just like Eric Catil has done. They had a vision for their build, and they executed upon it, right? Jackie Ding with this iBox-sponsored car that he's got here this weekend. It throws back to the 80s with the last rear-wheel drive Corolla, the A86, which is the car that the newer FRS BRZ GR86 are based on. So a really neat throwback for Jackie. And then Michael Pagano, a red and blue BMW hatchback that comes out of Japan. It's a right-hand drive car, but it looks like something that would just roll right off the BTCC starting grid.
Exactly.
So I love when drivers execute a build and they take their vision and just take it all the way to 10 out of 10. And those two drivers have done just that.
They have, and both of those cars are not only iconic, they're evocative. And if you've been following racing for a while, when I was talking with Jackie, I said, I see you go by, and I just get flooded with memories of racing back in the 80s, and that's pretty cool. And that's part of what makes GRIDLIFE so special here. We were talking about it before we got on the air. 10 o'clock last night, virtually every team were still at their cars, hoods up, and people walking through, fans coming over and chatting and having a beer, having whatever, talking cars. And right behind us, Twerk Team Racing, who I got to say thank you for helping out, an old and decrepit announcer with a nearby parking spot. But they're sitting there. They have got a Mazda sitting there with a Maserati engine jammed in the front that they are, they said, we're hoping to have it ready to be able to come out and run shortly. And that's, the other part of GRIDLIFE is engine swaps are allowed. So you could do some really creative engineering.
You sure can, and I think that's the beauty of the series is it runs sort of a time attack style rule set. So you can do so much to these cars. They're not forcing you to keep the engine in the car that's from the same manufacturer. You can do mixed manufacturer swaps. You can do all sorts of crazy things, and I think the creativity in the builds is half the fun of the series, right? And then the competition, the way that the balance, it's not really balance of performance, but you can build a car that you want to build, and you can expect that if you do it right, you can be up at the front. Now, the problem is that there's so many different kinds of cars that there's inevitably going to be one that has some kind of advantage, but we saw that with the Corvettes a bit last season. But Eric Catil has showed lightweight, lower power. That strategy still can work, even at tracks like CMP that have some pretty low-speed digs out of some of those corners.
Yeah, absolutely. And think about James Houghton too. I mean, he's in a really powerful, so it carries a bit more weight, front drive car, and he's been able to make that work and be right up at the sharp end of things. So that mixed nature. And Jackie Ding's car, that old Toyota Corolla, it's got a Honda engine in the front because those Honda engines are bulletproof, easy to maintain, easy to service, and relatively inexpensive. And so I like that idea of you can come in here and look at an option. I mean, this is the top level of grassroots racing in terms of talent, but it's still grassroots, and so cost is a huge issue. And people find these other options that can save them money significant in the long run, and they're going to do it. And that's going to be interesting. I wanted to say one thing about Paul Darling. I meant to mention this earlier. He had an order of tires that was delayed coming. So he is going through this weekend on some very used tires, he told me. And he said, I've either got tires where the outside edge of the tire is badly rooted, or I've got tires that not a lot of tread depth left on them, and I'm trying to figure out what the best way to go is to to get through here. But then he goes out and puts in an 8th place qualifying effort yesterday. So, hey, we got cars heading out.
We sure do. The cars are rolling. We were in a bit of a delay because of a car that went off in track battle earlier today and went pretty deep into the weeds. They were just repositioning the tow truck out there after it had brought that car back. Minor damage, but the car and driver are just fine. But it's time to roll into our GRIDLIFE Touring Cup coverage, and cars are rolling on the track. See Carlos Mendez rolling off, and he's got teammate Thomas Lathrop making his first GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, our second GRIDLIFE Touring Cup weekend here at Midwest Festival. But line astern, they head their way through turn 3. They're going to get 2 pace laps, Greg, to warm up their tires and brakes and get set to go for about 12 to 15 minutes. And it's a frantic battle as it was yesterday, but the start was incredibly clean yesterday. We got all those cars through turn 1 and 2, and that's critical because once you're through that opening phase, then you can kind of get your head right and start tackling drivers one by one.
Yeah, I mean, you can make up some spots on the start, but it's so easy to lose your race with an over-aggressive move at the start. So, and Amatan did a brilliant job from that outside front row spot. Just, did a roundup around the outside of McGrew right at the exit. There was some dirt and debris up there, and he got, he got it a little crossed up, but he saved it, had the inside for turn 2, and from that point was able to ease away just a little bit. And I didn't catch it. It looks like, I'm trying to watch which way they're going to be. I think that Catil, who actually set the fastest lap in the race, looks like he may have also chosen the inside. And if so, I think Matan's going to be grinning again.
He might be. We're following an Audi R8 pace car. This is one of the contest winners here this weekend. If you're keeping an eye on GRIDLIFE's social media channels, specifically the Instagram channel, we often run contests for fans to submit their personal car as a potential pace car using the hashtag GLTC Pace Car Search. And if you're selected, you get a ticket to the event, you roll up, and you get to ride along as our pace car driver Mike Cohn pilots the car around for the laps in full course yellows or prior to the race. And having done the pace car experience before, it's a really neat time. And this Audi R8 is one of 3 cars that were selected here this weekend. We'll have one of our Hyundai cars here that's joined us for race 4 later today. But really neat program that we've got here. But pacing the field and leading the way on the front row is Eric Catil in number 82. It's Matan Rosenberg, Greg, on the outside of that first row.
Yeah, then James Houghton in the 41 will start inside row 2. Luke McGrew, yesterday's pole sitter, on the outside in that number 7 Corvette.
In row number 3, it's Matt Waldbaum in the Waldgard car, the amalgamation of his and Andy Smedegard's S2000s. Eric Meadows in the number 3 Corvette rolls off 6th.
Starting in the 7th spot, 32, Jake Jornstedt looking to better his best ever finish yesterday. And I think he tied his best ever qualifying here with that lap. And in the 8th spot outside of row 4, the number 42 ASM car of course, Zach Lavoie.
Salil Shukla starts 9th in the number 715, and Lena Chin, top 10 yesterday, will start top 10 today in the 917 S2000.
And the number 184 of Eric Jensen, one of my favorite cars here, that big LS swapped Scion, really cool sounding car. And then the 12th spot, the number 83, Carlos Mendez.
Adam Wood, he's hauled a long way to get here. That 207 Subaru rolls off 13th. Eric Magnuson starts 14th in that gold BMW.
Fun to see what he'll be able to do from that spot. In the 15th spot, the 98 of Andrew Raines, and in that beautiful old Toyota, the number 86 of Jackie Ding.
Gary Wimble starts 17th in the number 1 Corvette, and Julio Crispin in the number 350 Nissan 350 starts 18th.
And the number 55 of Paul Darling will start 19th. Work to do here, but he is fast here. And Andrew Raines' teammate, as they show up for the first time with a 2-car team, then 89 of Steve Pruden will start 20th.
Joel Morrison rolls off 21st in the 9 Lives Racing and Myriad Motorsports 71. Thomas Lathrop starts 22nd in the 84.
Starting 23rd, the 109 of Dana Baczynski, his first weekend starting in GLTC, a longtime track battle competitor. Starting 24th, the 26 of Louis Chatrop.
And in this purple and orange car, that's 14-year-old Ayrton Grimm, the number 2 CRP Racing MX-5, starts 25th spot. Matt Corrance out of Canada starts 26th in the 52.
And starting in the 27th spot, the 202 of Jacob Price. 28th, the 28 of Peter Zhang.
Joe Tulo starts 29th in the number 43 BMW. Jorge Ortiz, in his return to GLTC for the first time since Kansas 2 years ago, starts 30th in the number 57.
Starting 31st, one of the prettiest cars in the paddock, the number 44. It's a Mazda with a Camaro V6 V6 engine swap in it for Kerry James in that Mazda Soul Red, just stunning. And the 888 of Dai Win will start 32nd.
And in 33rd place, it's going to be Samuel Scott in the number 85, and Kevin Bandy rolls off 34th in the number 5 car.
In the 35th spot, watch Tony Marchev here. He got caught up in a little incident, not of his own doing out there in the number 17. He was really quick. He's got some work to do, and he's going to be fun. And then in the 36th spot, the 78 of Jason Kanarkari.
Dustin Barty starts 37th, the number 24. Then Bob Dice rolls off 38th in the 618.
39th will be 328 Ryan Schabel. 40th, the 11 of Jeremy Zeiler.
Seth Gale starts 41st in the 541. Hans Horpedal, I think, had an issue, will not make the start grid for this one, or would have rolled off 42nd, Greg.
Yeah, starting 43rd will be the 714 of Tony Barber. 44th, the 546 of Andy Sundin.
And in 45th place, it'll be Nathan Manning in the 860, then Sean McNeil in the 521 car in 46th.
And in 47th, the 95 of Robbie Vierhout. Now, we're not sure he's going to be able to make the start. He had a serious brake failure yesterday. And in the 48th spot is the 308 of Kyle Malarkey.
Kyle Hale, Clayton Fitzpatrick make up the final row of 50 cars here in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup at the 11th Annual GRIDLIFE Midwest Festival. Green flag flies, and we're underway at Gingerman Raceway. Catil and Rosenberg side by side down towards turn 1. Dead even, big lunge from behind into the first corner, and there's one car going around, spinning at turn 1.
And look at that. Catil actually chose that outside starting position and had cleared Matan before they even got to the exit of turn 1. So he read that and played that to absolute perfection.
And cars now into turn 3. Catil leads Rosenberg, but they're still door-to-door behind him. That's Eric Meadows and James Houghton. Meadows out to the, or that's Begru rather. Meadows is a bit further back, a run on the Waldbaum car. And there's a car stuck at Julio Crispin in the 350 at turn 1, and another car pulling away there.
Yeah, Matt Waldbaum in Waldegard made up a spot on the start and now sits in the 5th spot. Eric Meadows in the Corvette back to 6th. Then Jornstad, Lavoie, Shukla, and Chin.
Into turn 7, off in, yeah, I don't think Crispin's going anywhere. That car's got big right front damage.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the suspension's all torn up. I would anticipate that being a full course yellow. At least it would be early enough in the race we could get a chance for a restart. But look at Rosenberg having a look at Catil, but he's going to have to call off that chase as we're under yellow now, Greg.
Oh, man, and he had a run, too, didn't he? And that Corvette, it's so much heavier than Catil's car. The tire temps come up a bit quicker, and he was trying to take advantage of that and make a move early. And it just got thwarted by that caution flag. And it was interesting talking to some of the ASM people, Chin, Lavoie, all that. They are so excited. They said, we just have to hang in there, stay in the top 10, and they can be in their first top 10 shootout. And they were all going, I want that. I want that so bad. So extra motivation here in a lot of different spots.
Yeah, well, we got a moment. Let's talk about the top 10 shootout here, Greg. So the top 10 from this race will re-qualify for race 3 later today before we get to race 3. They're each going to get one lap by themselves to go as fast as they possibly can. That will set the first 5 rows for our 3rd race later today.
And it is absolutely fascinating to watch because you can focus on each car. We cover it, start to finish on those laps, and you can see where they have a really stunningly good run, or you can see where they might make that little mistake that might cost them some time. We have the drones giving them chase. It's just fascinating to watch that, and it really is the ultimate moment in terms of driving a car. Yeah, there's racing is one thing, but that's that one lap. You've got to get it perfect, and you've got to push to 11/10.
You sure do, and I think it's fun because you can't fall out of the top 10.
Right.
So even if you push to 12/10 and you go off the track or you make a mistake, the worst you can do is 10th in that 3rd race for the start. So that's all good news for those drivers that can make that top 10. And Eric Jensen is there right now. He's had a really strong weekend, was fastest in practice too earlier this weekend. Been chasing all sorts of mechanical gremlins in that car for a long time, but the pace has been there. He's got one GLTC win all the way back in 2021 at Heartland Park, so he'd like to repeat that and put a second one on the board.
Yeah, when everything's working in that car, it is really, really quick. And you were talking about it yesterday. He's got a dog box in that car, so he can get around this track with a lot fewer shifts than some other cars. And of course, every shift is an opportunity to lose time if you don't get it right. And so I think he's in with a real shot here for a strong run.
I think so as well. And there's a look at your front runners right now as they work their way through the course. There's James Houghton, of course, out of Ontario, Canada. going to most of the events this season. He actually was going to try to go to Willow Springs and pick up some points there in a slightly smaller field size, but they got stopped at the border. They had a new procedure for bringing cars in from across the border that they weren't quite prepared for. They had never gotten stopped before, but they were halted on their way to Willow Springs. So he wasn't able to run that event, but he will be at most of the other rounds this season. And again, when you think about the context of the championship, Greg, you take your best 16 races plus the results at pit race all the way at the end of October. So, you know, we're choosing individual races now, not events. So if you have a bad race here, a bad race there, it's not that big of a deal like it would have been previously.
Yeah, and I think that's nice. You know, if you're going to do drops, you don't want to, you know, have to, you know, drop an event where you had 2 bad races and 2 really strong races. You know, that's difficult to swallow. I like that idea. The other thing I like is the fact that if you're in the championship battle, you've got to go to the final race and make a show of it. And believe me, anybody in this field who hasn't driven pit race is going to love going to that track. It is an absolutely superb racetrack. Exciting, challenging, elevation change, blind approaches, everything you love about a great racetrack is at pit race.
Yeah, drivers being told to kind of hug the left side of the road here so we can get that Julio Crispin Z hooked up. And I didn't get a look at exactly what the contact was, but I saw a car coming from a long ways back going into turn 1. It almost looked unintentional, I have to say. But I don't think it was this car, so I think he might have gotten hit prior to whatever impact this caused here. But they're getting it on the rollback here, and hopefully we could get restarted next time by. The rescue guys do a fantastic job. And, you know, this is a big place, and there's not a lot of places to put vehicles and equipment around the racetrack, and they do an excellent job cleaning things up in quick order.
Let's give them a shout out. That's Rescue Guys Motorsport Safety, and it is one of the only independently owned safety teams in the Midwest. It was started in 1977 by Michael and Russell Furling, and they've done everything from dirt track to monster truck events, tractor trailer pulls, road course racing, of course, and they've provided safety for events Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Kentucky. And the crews are local firefighters, including here Jackie Stanley, Aaron, John, Cameron, Jeremy, Chris, Kari, AJ, Stacy, and Zach. And they have just, as you said, have been superb this weekend. We wanted to give them a real shout out.
Yeah, and they don't just work here at this racetrack. They travel all over. So I think that's really neat. And we hope to have them at our WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca event this year.
That's a trap,
according to Adam Jabay. So that's exciting news. And, well, we're lying astern here, continuing to revolve around the pace car. But Catil and Rosenberg, McGrew, Houghton, Walbaum, your top 5. Now, with Matt Walbaum, let's talk about that car. We mentioned yesterday that all the parts of that car, of his car, were transplanted onto Andy Smedegaard's S2000. He's got a DCT transmission in it now as well, so he's paddle shifted, not shifting the old-fashioned heel and toe, stick shift. But it seems like there's like this impenetrable wall of 4 or 5 cars ahead of him. And I think once he is able to consistently get up into the 3rd, 2nd, 1st places, he will be a real threat. But he's just got to find the magic balance. I don't know if it's qualifying or what, because the car is fast, but it's just not quite enough to be on the top step just yet.
Well, and I wonder, with that new chassis underneath it, each chassis, they all have their little idiosyncrasies, and it may be a better chassis, less tweaked, less used up, but you still now have to, as you said, get some time in the car, figure out, okay, I can actually do this here. I can make this happen here. The other question is, obviously, if there was enough contact like that for Crispin to really break that car, the other car who got into him, how healthy is that car? We don't know what.
We don't know, but he's the only car that I saw stopped over there in turn 1. But the pace car is off. We're going back green here at GRIDLIFE Touring Cup at the 11th Annual GRIDLIFE Midwest Festival. Eric Catil's in command, and green flag, we're back underway at Gingerman Raceway.
And keep an eye out here. Matan, once again, can get those tires up. Look at Walbaum looking around the outside of Houghton. He had an overlap for an instant, but couldn't complete it. But Matan, if he kept those tires warm, and that's one of the things he said with Cerise, was during that caution yesterday, he let the tires cool too much. And he said if he kept them warm here with that heavy Corvette, they're going to come up to temp a little quicker. Watch for him to attack early.
Jake Jornstad working his way by Eric Meadows into turn 3, but it's 2 car lengths between Cattell and Rosenberg off into turns 5 and 6. Meadows still on defense there from Jornstad, and Zach Lavoie chasing him down, but the battle for the lead is still as hot as ever.
Yeah, it's really, really snug up there, isn't it? These two guys going at it here. And little gap now between Rosenberg and McGrew. Part of that, Matan looks to the inside a little again, but Eric able to roll enough entry speed. But now, what's he going to be able to do? It's really tough, to do anything in this set of corners here, but you want to get your run built up so you can really attack as you come out of turn 10, which they're heading up into right now.
Into the braking zone here. Luke McGrew lurking there, as well as James Houghton. 2 pairs of 2 as they roll through turn 10B. And then Waldbaum watching, and then behind Jornstad, there's a bit of a train formulating. There's Eric Meadows, Lavoie, Salil Shukla, Jensen. Adam Wood is up into, I think, 11th place. That's a very strong run for him as he chases Lena Chin.
Yeah, that's really, really impressive. And look at McGrew now. He has caught these 2 up front, and he's bringing Houghton with him. So we're going to have a 4-car battle here for that lead in short order. And we're going to keep an eye on that 10th position. It's currently held by the 184 of Jensen. Lena Chin started in 10th, has lost that 1 spot to Jensen. And if you finish this race in that top 10, you go to the shootout. So Lena right now needs to find a little speed if she wants to crack and get into that first top 10 shootout.
Look at Shukla on Zach Lavoie there, nose to tail, the red S2000 versus the silver BMW. Shukla goes driver's left into the braking zone as Lavoie defends.
Ooh, and Jensen actually got slowed up there. He ran up on the back of those 2 really quickly. But there's a lot of low-end launch in that car. And look at this move here. Zach Lavoie now attacking once again, trying to get back around Shukla, who has slipped through and has taken away that 8th spot.
Yeah, so Shukla's up a position, Lavoie down 1, and Jensen closes in. He's put a couple car lengths on Lena Chin. Adam Wood is lurking back there. And just behind Wood is Andrew Rains. His most recent win, and his first win was race 4 at Carolina Motorsports Park, trying to break his way back into the top 10.
Now, one thing about this track, we went through that track map, what we didn't talk about was lots of places where you can pass. This isn't the easiest place to pass Lena Chin. Big move down underneath. Jensen here, she said, I'm determined to make it into that shootout, but Jensen able to roll good speed around the outside. Now up onto the power curve. She just has to stay. She couldn't do it. Just could not keep that nose alongside.
Yeah, that was a great lunge there by Lena. Fair play. She got outbraked the 184, but wasn't able to carry that speed all the way down the straightaway. Still 3 car lengths between the 2 race leaders. Jornstad still clinging to 6th, and that battle for 10th is still on. Lena knows how important it is to have that spot to have a shot at the shootout later. And then, of course, Thomas Lathrop having a run there at Gary Wimble into turn 1.
Yeah, really good stuff here. Rosenberg just setting fast lap of the race. That's nice to have, but in this one doesn't mean a whole lot because it's your finishing order that's going to decide what the starting lineup is for race number 3. But he's just showing that Corvette here in those beautiful evocative colors of early Corvette racing, graphics on the car, that it is fast here this weekend.
And then for Lena, I think she knows her advantage is going to be 7, 8, 9, where she found all that distance and closed it up on Jensen. But once Jensen gets to the exit of 10B and drag races her up the straightaway, it's probably game over. So she needs to complete that pass before 10B, where her car is the strongest. And this is that section that we're talking about right now. And for the lead, look at this, nose to tail, Cattell and Rosenberg battling for the top spot.
Yeah, you can't get much between them right now. It's that close. And Matan, he just needs to be really close. Looks to the inside now. He's got the overlap, but Cattell really good rolling speed around a corner, but now Matan is going to have that straight line acceleration drive, but Cattell staying right with him. This is an absolute drag race down into turn number 11.
Cattell is going to rev that Honda engine to the moon, 10,000 RPM if he can make it. Rosenberg, though, on the brakes later, and he'll complete this pass for the top spot. Cattell throttles up on the outside onto the curbing, and they're still side-by-side. White flag, Greg.
Boy, this is it. If Cattell can stay here, it's going to be golden. But Matan, he likes this outside line. He made it work. You see him He's fearless there, throws it around the corner, has the overlap, looks to the inside, but Coutil going to be really good with that much lighter car around the outside. Another drag race, Kyle.
Players 3 and 4 have joined the game. Here's Luke McGrew. Here's James Houghton, almost bump drafting into turn 3. They're still door to door for the top spot at Gingerman Raceway.
Oh, and Matan's going, just let me clear you somewhere, please. And Coutil going, not that easy, my friend. Still side by side. They have been side by side through what, 5? Now this is 5, now up into 6. They're still there. And Matan doing everything he can do to hang on to it, and Coutil doing everything he can to prevent that door from shutting. And I think Matan finally might have just enough here.
Coutil is just relentless. Now finally, Rosenberg clears him, but this is what it's all about. They were side by side for half a lap, and Coutil is not done by any means, Greg. He's still got time to get it back.
That was a pass that started in turn 1 and completed at turn 9.
Amazing. That's what it's all about. A car length between them now, though. Rosenberg wrestling it away from Coutil. Luke McGrew would love to sneak back by that Hybrid Racing 82, but he might not get another opportunity. We've got just one corner left here at Gingerman Raceway.
And looking back just a little bit here, still Jensen hanging on to that 10th spot, and Chin in that 11th spot. So that crucial battle is still unfolding. Checker is coming out.
Here we go, last corner. Coutil trying to set him up for a pass. I don't think he's going to get there. Checkered flag, and 2 for 2. Rosenberg picks one up over Coutil, steals it on the final lap of the race. And it's McGrew, Houghton, Waldbaum, your top 5, Jake Jorenstad, Meadows, and a battle for 10th. Jensen snags it, and he'll be in the podium sprint later.
And Lena Chin was halfway up to his door as they came through in that scrap. Really good. Really impressive stuff here. And the margin of victory between Rosenberg and Coutil, yesterday it was 4/10. Today it's only 2/10. I mean, it's just getting closer and closer, Kyle.
That was a great battle between those two, and there's Jorge Ortiz finishing up. There's a piece of something on the road there.
There sure is.
Not sure what that was from, but the rest of the field will come across the stripe and finish out their race. That was spectacular between those top 2, Greg. We were in for a treat after an early full course yellow. But Matan, I'm impressed that he was able to keep that advantage in an area that his car, in theory, doesn't have one. That 7, 8, 9 area where he was sliding around yesterday. Here's a look at your results, though, Greg. Rosenberg, Coutil, McGrew, Houghton, Waldbaum, your top 5, and Shukla, Lavoie, Jensen, great runs for those guys as well.
Yeah, really solid. And yeah, for Eric Jensen, obviously, gets him up in there. Lena Chin will miss that top 10 shootout. That's really unfortunate. Her parents, Danny and Brenda, are here first time to watch their daughter run, so that's really cool. Andrew Raines, he made up a lot of ground in that race to almost crack that top 10 with their program, so a good run for him.
Yeah, a handful of spots gained as well for some of these drivers. Dustin Barty up 7 spots. Tony Marchev up 8. Kerry James is up a couple of spots from the start of the race as well. Kevin Bandy down at 30th. 14-year-old Ayrton Grimm, 29th in that number 2. Again, that car is not fully prepped for this series, so he's doing an excellent job just getting around the course. Dai Wynn up 13 spots from where he started at the tail of the field. Kyle Hale, Tony Barber, and of course, I don't think, actually, Hans Horvath must have made it into the race. He said he wasn't going to, but he is on the board.
He's there and finished 40th, so I mean, after a big field, he made up some ground to be sure here. And then, unfortunately, there's the 350 of Julio Crispin, who had that contact that took him out of the race. And I wonder, he started right along with Carlos Mendez there, so I wonder if those were the two that maybe didn't get together. Just speculate.
Yeah, it seems like that was the case, but unfortunately Carlos Mendez will finish 49th in this one. But here is a look at the action from race 2, and yeah, they see the damage on the front of Julio's car. But after the restart, we were in for a classic GLTC treat.
Oh, incredibly close. And Matan, as I said, that Corvette gets those tires up to temp just because of the weight it carries. But Eric Coutil is a magician with roll speed, and it was going to come down to a duel, utilizing those two things. And you could see third and fourth coming up and joining it. And then this wonderful battle as well with Zach Lavoie putting on a great show with Salil.
Yeah, the great battle between those two. Lena Chin trying her best to get into the top 10 shootout alongside Eric Jensen. Big lunge here, but Jensen was able to throttle up with that V8 FRS and out-drag her down to turn number 11. And then for the lead, Rosenberg just never gave up. And this is where they began their battle, Greg, and it just didn't go away until another 2 miles later.
Oh, it was absolutely incredible what the show that these guys put on here. Just went for lap after lap. Corner after corner. Once that pass started, as I said, it started here in turn 1 and went all the way to turn 8. Just watch this, folks. This is amazing stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. And Coutil wouldn't let it go. He was like the mosquito in the ear, just buzzing around, trying to slap him away, and he would never go until right here, turn 7. It's a long corner, and finally Rosenberg was able to pull the overlap away and picks up his second win of the weekend. That will be great for the points for him, and for Coutil, not a bad points day as well. But there's still so much racing left to do. We've got races 3 and 4 coming up later today. The top 10 shootout for our GRIDLIFE Touring Cup drivers, and then the rest of our NOS Energy Track Battle Championship coverage as well, Q3. And we've also got our Podium Sprint. Got some drift coverage for you later and some content to boot, Greg. So it's a full day at Midwest Festival.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And, you know, the top 4 in this race covered by 1.3 seconds. So really, really close here. And we saw some amazing stuff unfolding in that NOS Energy Drink Track Battle Championship qualifying run. It should be even more exciting when we get to round 3. And, of course, the Podium Sprint's just fabulous.
Well, plenty of coverage coming your way on the GRIDLIFE YouTube channel and Twitch and Facebook, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll pick it up again with the top 10 shootout for GRIDLIFE Touring Cup later today.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
You spend thousands of hours on the road.
Can he do it again?
Feel hundreds of horses under the hood. But every race, lap, and victory you get starts at 0. New NOS, 0 sugar. 0 sugar, 100% NOS, get after it.
The Falcon Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenis RT660.